Ladies and gentlemen, our next keynote, first it will be a report launch followed by a keynote on Frontier Tech and Beyond Tomorrow by Mr. Pranav Pai. A small introduction before I call upon our dignitaries and Pranav onto the stage for the report launch. Pranav is the founding partner and chief investment officer for 314. Mr. Pranav leads investment and portfolio construction at 314 Capital. As CIO, he has made over 70 seeds and venture capital investment across several investment categories in India and US. All the companies that Pranav is invested, the fund has been consistently ranked one of India's top VC firm. Apart from that, he also serves as board for several of the companies in the portfolio. Ladies and gentlemen, with the loudest round of applause, please put your hands together for Mr. Pranav Pai.
Great. So thank you, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here. Always a big fan of Thai Bangalore, especially. I believe it's one of the best chapters I've ever had the privilege of working with globally. And a big fan. And I hope we can do a lot more after this. I think Bangalore is a very interesting ecosystem. I am biased. I'm a Bangalore boy, born, raised, and probably going to be burnt here as well, not leaving. What I've prepared here for this room is an interesting snapshot of where the world is, how important deep tech has become, whether people like it or not, because it's very controversial. What is deep tech? Who is the best one in deep tech? Whose deep tech is real deep tech or not? How good is India? How valid are its patents? All kind of crazy questions that the West keeps lobbing on the global South, as we're called. So I'll try to cover from the world outside in what the opportunity looks like. In the end, I'm a VC. I'm supposed to make money with every dollar I invest, hopefully make 10x. Rarely does that happen. I'm standing in front of you today saying that one of my best performing sub portfolios is our deep tech portfolio. My most recent, most profitable exit is a deep tech company. So Indian deep tech is surprising even us, the most optimistic of people in the country. And so I'm here to share some interesting stories from what we're seeing, and hopefully a few projections about the future that might turn out to be true. So I'll start with tech has obviously transformed the world. This is no longer something that we debate, but if you remember even 15 years back, we used to have this monthly report about iOS versus Android, Mac versus this, Google versus something else. No one is debating market share anymore. No one cares. Tech is everywhere. It's horizontal. It is a fundamental part of the human experience. And the early movers in technology, which unfortunately or fortunately are all American, have dominated the value capture that technology has presented. If you look at the last 100 years in the US stock market, which is the largest stock market in the world, $64 trillion is the latest count of the US market cap in equity. 2017 was when you first saw the top 5 companies in the US all becoming tech companies. Very strange, if you remember in the news, those of you who were tracking tech back then. This is a bubble. Apple is not worth 900 billion. It's going to crash. No tech company can be $1 trillion company. All those investors were wrong. If you look at 2025, almost 8 or 9 of the top 10 most valuable companies are now tech companies. The only one fighting a good fight there is Berkshire, and its largest holdings are also the other 7. So you can argue that, honestly, all the reasons you thought tech wouldn't work are all wrong. Tech has worked. And if the whole point of thinking about technology is to profit from it. Now, I invite all of you to think like VCs, think like investors, think objectively about compounding your money. When you saw IBM becoming the most valuable company in 1967, something changed. And clearly there was an avalanche that started that resulted in the world as we know it in 2025. Now, valuation gets a lot of miserable media coverage, a lot of negativity, a lot of skepticism, a lot of criticism, a lot of sneering at. I'm not here to talk about or justify tech valuations. I'm here to talk about the fact that I'm scared now that the world's most profitable companies are increasingly technology companies. Not oil companies like they used to be, not banks, not defense companies, tech companies. If you look at the most profitable companies in the world, only Saudi Aramco there gave a fight to Apple. Now Apple has become the most profitable company. Apple spits out more cash every year than the entire market cap of Infosys in India. 100 billion versus the market cap is between 70 and 90 for Infosys, give or take. So that is scary. How does one tech company in the US manage to spit out as much cash as the entire market cap of one of India's biggest companies? And that is a scary situation we find ourselves in because it's not just profits, it's not just market share, it's not just your data, which I'll come to. It's also the infrastructure underneath that technology, which obviously data centers, there's one country that has abnormally benefited from all of this tech infrastructure going live across the world. One country dwarfs the other countries in comparison in terms of data centers installed. And each of these companies now, the big five, Mag 7, Mag 8, FANG, GAFA, whatever you call them, the acronym keeps changing. They're not just single product companies anymore. They are entire ecosystems. In fact, some people call them entire nation states, given their market cap. Each of these companies now are going into every sector available to them. And with the mindset that your margin is my opportunity, which Amazon is famous for demonstrating. So what we live in today is let there be no debate, let there be no political ideology that changes your mind. This is hard reality, absolute facts, nothing to be argued with. We are living in a duopoly that is run by the United States. Every part of our digital day is run by one, if not two, American companies. 5 or 7 years back, there was this minor debate whether China would one day build equally interesting companies. After COVID, obviously, that's a question mark. But clearly now, this is the world we live in. And so when we think about how to compete against these very hard to compete with tech giants, it becomes a very pessimistic answer. It's impossible to. That's the language I hear almost always from investors all over the world. But while they say that, reality still shows us an Airbnb every 5 years. It's some strange company that figures out a way to get to scale in a strange way that people didn't think would work and always fights that bias that we're done, it's over, we've plateaued, no more competition. Airbnb today is the world's most valuable hotel company. It built exactly zero hotel rooms. How do you build the world's largest hotel company without building a hotel room? It's a very weird, strange question. But today their market cap is now not 30, 80 billion. Hyatt is still fighting the good fight, I think, at 15 or 16 billion. So it goes to show you that the answers to these questions, how to compete, what might be the next value driver, where is the next S curve, which is the next big winner, the answers to these questions come from strange places. That's a big takeaway. You will not be right most of the time. That's also a takeaway. But the fact is, we still need to try. We still need to look hard. That's our job as investors. Remember, we're all thinking like investors today. And I postulate, and this is something I'll prove in the next few slides, that the future areas of competition now are not building a better hotel company, a better cab company, a better messaging app, a better shopping app. I think those are most likely done. You'll still have a few of that in India because India is a different opportunity, and I'll speak about India as well. But the world now is firmly of the opinion, this is consensus, that all these strange sounding technologies here, most of which you're not taught in school or college. I'm an engineer, I wasn't taught that in Bangalore. I went to Stanford, most of the stuff were elective courses that most people didn't take, if any. So most of this stuff now is going to become the real arena of competition. Now, if tech is the lattice of human evolution, we have to ask ourselves, where are we going? How far can this go? What is the world going to look like in 25 years? And here I have some ideas to discuss and some projections to make. I postulate, first of all, and many VCs do, that think about a world where energy is going to be free. And what does this mean? One of the fundamental constraints on human activity has been energy. We've gone from human labor to humans hunting to humans farming to animals farming, animal labor, horses, horse carts, bullock carts, and of course the automobile, the IC engine, EVs, and now we're going more and more into this realm where if everything is electrified, we need infinite electricity, and how do we solve that problem? And nuclear fusion might be the answer. This is going to be the world's first and largest fusion reactor in France. It's large enough. That purple thing there, the core reactor, is bigger than this room. Just to show you the scale, this thing can supply all of Paris and all the suburbs in France infinite energy forever if it works. If it works, we'll see next year. But that's an interesting example of how much innovation is happening in one of the core problems of humanity, which is still the constraints on our energy. But India is a leader here. India has already taken a massive step forward on renewables. The world's largest solar farm is in Bhadla in Rajasthan. So quietly, you'll see a revolution in energy here as well. This is a massive area we need to invest. It's a horizontal driver of all the innovation that's coming. Imagine expertise will be free. Another very fundamental constraint on humanity is human labor. The best doctors, the best lawyers, the best teachers. Not all of us have access to all of them all the time. What if he could train AI and give every kid, when he or she is born, a dedicated AI tutor, the best teacher in the world, right? Tutor basically customized for him, an AI nurse, an AI doctor, an AI therapist. This is the world we're heading towards, where human expertise will no longer be a constraint on the services that you have access to. That also applies to human labor. Imagine a world where labor is free and human beings and the availability of human beings is not a constraint. We're already seeing humanoid and bipedal robots, multi-axis robots at home. We're seeing construction robots in South Korea and Japan. And if you keep pushing this further and further, the world's already much smaller than it used to be even 25 years back, with a smartphone in everyone's pocket, with 5G internet and so on. But imagine if the physical constraints of traveling now go away. Mark 5 passenger planes, autonomous taxi cars, which are already live in many parts of the world. And now we're going into more and more science fiction because all of that sounded believable. Those are real photos. That's already happening. So I don't have to postulate. But here I start postulating. Imagine if all of us are programmers, right? Most of you don't like programming if you're an engineer. Most of you didn't like that topic. Anyway, imagine if programming a script or an app for yourself is as simple as just talking to an AI and telling it what you want. It's already possible today. A bunch of apps that are doing that for you. And if we keep pushing this further, spatial computing, immersive spatial computing is actually going to become the norm in most homes and educational institutions. We also believe AI agents are going to overpopulate the internet. Today we have around 6 billion people on the internet, give or take. We will have 100 billion agents on the internet very soon. So if you think today it's spam and bots and unnecessary comments and too much weird looking activity, multiply that by 100. We'll have AI agents for every single part of your life. There'll be a travel agent, there'll be a tax paying agent, there'll be an accounting agent, there'll be a nannying agent, there'll be a parenting agent. You will basically outsource your entire life to these bots run by those tech companies. It's a sorry situation. You can argue what of humanity is left if that happens. Those are all philosophical questions for another time. But I also point to you that AI-led cyber threats are going to become very real. We already have issues of fraud and scam and cyber attacks and so on, OTP, phishing, so on and so forth. Imagine that goes up by 100. We'll need AI agents to protect us from AI cyber threats. So just imagine, like all of you were not paying for music 10 years back. Almost everyone here is paying for Spotify or Apple Music or whatever now. You will all be paying for this stuff, and your wallet share is going to increase in terms of the tech spend you will have on every human being on the planet. We're also very, very concerned about quantum computing. Today, the world's financial systems, security systems, everything exists because we can encrypt data. No one else can listen in on my phone call if I'm calling Madan here, hopefully on WhatsApp at least. But very quickly, these things will decrypt everything. Your bank password, your education, your UPI, OTP, everything will be decrypted. Everything will be unhashed. Everything will be open use. We don't know how to deal with a world where encryption doesn't work. So now it's becoming scary. Now it's becoming a problem. Now technology is actually making new problems for us we didn't think we would have to face so quickly. We're already seeing AI in war. We're already seeing autonomous drones in Ukraine, in Israel. This is a live robot in South Korea patrolling the border between North and South Korea because you've probably heard about tensions going up there as well. And more, the human experiences we used to have and we used to enjoy, especially Gen Z and kids, that's also going away. This thing, not a lady, this thing comes on Kannada News every Saturday evening. Most people couldn't figure out she was AI until they actually announced her as AI. It as AI, shouldn't call it her. Anyway, put that aside. And gaming, everyone has heard about Fortnite. Most kids here, if you're in college, have played Fortnite. Fortnite is famous to be, as the most popular free-to-play game. Right? And you pay for, I don't know, guns and skins and I don't know, some weird-looking costumes. So it monetized pretty well, but it was a free-to-play game, and it was enjoyable because it's other human beings, right? So you all land on an island, and 25 of you, whatever. Imagine now that you'll have to pay for the privilege to play against other human beings. So playing human beings by default is a privilege. The default is you land on an island and 25 bots shoot you in less than a minute, right? It's impossible to win a video game against a bot. Impossible. But you're going to have to pay now. Even the free games are going to make you pay to play against human beings. So if you keep pushing this further and further, Elon Musk Neuralink is the only public company in the space. There are at least a half a dozen private companies that are further ahead, more high fidelity physics simulations. Very soon the virtual world looks better than the real world. And then health. Health becomes one of the most important things in this environment because all you realize you have is one lifetime, one shot for sure. Maybe multiple lifetimes, we don't know. One shot for sure. You want to live for as long as possible in a very comfortable life, serviced by AI and robots. We'll soon have N equals 1 personalized medicine. We'll soon have robotic surgery that's intensely precise, better than anything a human being can do. We'll very soon be able to birth AI babies. So genetic pre-selection and removing undesirable traits, which again is a big philosophical thorny rabbit hole I don't want to get into. We'll print 3D printed organs. So basically, you will live your entire 120 years, the telomere length of your genome, very hard for you to die. Let's put it that way. And that's again really weird dependence on these tech companies. So it's a scary world. It's a weird world. It's what everyone is writing about as a singularity and so on. Remember, I asked you to think like an investor. All these things now are things to invest in, right? All of these are the fundamental infrastructure, the picks and shovels of the big revolution that's coming. So yes, we're going to singularity. All that is weird. Terminator. We don't know what it will look like, right? We don't know, but at least you can make money while the world ends. So let's see. But what I will tell you, jokes aside, is this is the superposition of all the big technological waves that have come forward in the last 100 years. What most investors are saying is this is going to be possibly the biggest S-curve of humanity. All prior technologies feed into this, exponential, cascading, hard to predict, impossible to control tidal wave that's coming. And if multiple generations of human beings have been innovating for this to be the last cycle, I don't know, but the biggest cycle for sure, it means this is going to be like something we've never seen before. So how do we profit? That's what VCs do well. They look at all this scary stuff and say, yeah, the world might end, but I still want 30% IRR. So I come to this slide. We've already done a lot of work globally as the phase one, which is core infrastructure, GPUs, NVIDIA is now 3 trillion, data centers, power. I spoke about all this, obvious things to invest in, all getting done. India is still behind. We'll talk about where India can catch up. We've seen a lot of activity now in phase two, which is again, a lot of these robots and co-pilots and so on. You're already hearing about this, AI gaming. Edge AI is going to become the phase three where it becomes more real. It's closer to you. It's hard to say no. It lives on your phone. It lives on your smartwatch. It lives on your camera. It lives on your router. And then physical AI, self-driving cars, robots in your house, AI humanoids, spatial computing, AI weapons. So all the things I showed you over 25 years, most likely it happens in 10, which is very comfortable for me because I like 10-year funds. And therefore, today, the VC thesis for AI is bring it, right? And let's invest. And that's why many hundreds of billions of dollars going into VC AI investments every year. Now, that's the world, and that's where the world is reached. That's the conclusion. You can disagree with it, but that is what is going to happen in the next 10 years. Let's come to India. India is more optimistic. India is more interesting. But it's important to remember the context of India because most of the time, I find people still disagree about where India is and what India needs. So I present to you that very few countries in the world have done what India has done over the last 34 years. We've gone from 275 billion in 1991 when we liberalized, we had a crisis, absolutely broken economy. So most of you would have been alive back then, you'll have painful memories. But since then, we've gone from 275 billion to 4.27 trillion. That's 8.2% growth in dollars for 34 years. No country in the world has grown at 8.2% for 34 years except China. So what we've done to get to 4.3 trillion, what we've done to become now the fourth largest economy in the world in 2025, this is 2022 to 2028, is what we predicted. We're going to be the third biggest, definitely before 2028. We're the world's fastest, large economy. Now it's hard to stop India. Now India is a truism. Now India third is default, right? And that's an India we're not prepared to discuss or debate because we don't know a prosperous India. We still struggle with government policy, with media narratives, with local government, with infrastructure. I don't think most of you will agree if someone says India looks like a 4 trillion economy today. It doesn't, right? But imagine India at 10 trillion. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. We're not ready for 10 trillion, and that's a fundamental problem. We're not ready to be the third largest economy. So as the world becomes more multipolar, do we have all the friends we need, the allies we need, the weapons we need, the carrot and the stick? We have plenty of carrots. Do we have enough sticks? So India is a prosperous country. India is the third largest economy. It's a very different India. And most of us have to get out of this poverty, underdog mindset to be a little bit more assertive about India's position in this new world. And it's not just at 10 trillion that we stop. India will be the only country besides US and China to cross 10. India will be at 20 trillion by 2050. This is Goldman Sachs projections are usually right. And India is by far the third biggest piece on all the economic projections you see. No other country goes past 10. It's pretty. This is peak humanity, by the way, before AI comes and takes over and probably everything goes to zero, right? So this is it. This is peak India. We're going to get better from here. So our thinking has to change. And my fundamental postulate for deep tech as I come there is be optimistic and demand more. I think magic will happen. So why am I saying what I'm saying before I talk about deep tech? Because whenever I hear about defense investments, deep tech investments, government should do more, industry should do more, I inevitably get the flood of debate saying, but India's poor, but India's this. No other country has eliminated higher poverty and extreme poverty like we have at this rate in the last 10 to 12 years. Again, that argument cannot keep India back from being what it needs to be at pole position 3. Right? So we have to invest. We have to, yes, support our people, deal with legacy issues of poverty and so on. Yes, we spend 9 lakh crores a year on subsidies. That's plenty. But we have to start spending 50, 60, 70,000 crores a year on deep tech, on defense tech, on innovation, on the future of India as well, not just keep dealing with legacy issues. So poverty is not an answer anymore, not an acceptable answer. It is getting behind us. We do enough. And that rate of change is something to be proud of. India's equity story, we used to complain, where are the exits, where is the IPO? All solved. Now we're the fourth largest equity market in the world. The US is now at 64. We are past 5. We'll very quickly overtake Japan. That's a no-brainer. China will be tough competition because China will swallow Hong Kong anytime. So again, number 3, right? You'll get used to number 3. We'll be number 3 in most places. Unicorn count, equity market size, GDP, everything. But here's where we can start differentiating. We are already the best performing equity market in the world except the US. Usually every 5-year, 10-year, 15-year chunk of time, you go back and look. India and US are tying at number 1, number 2. China's not close. Indonesia, Korea, everything is behind. They're all demographic casualties. Not much is going to happen in those countries at the same rate anymore. We're also one of the most profitable countries in the world. Most people look down on Indian business. They don't know how to be profitable. They don't know how to report. We still have this weird hangover like we're India in the 70s. We're not. We're actually one of the best governed economies in the world. We're the most overregulated for sure. We still have fantastic companies. We still build extraordinary profitable P&Ls. 13.5% of India's GDP is total Indian corporate profits, pre-tax. Unbelievable. Only one country is ahead of us, US at 14.2, 14.3%. And that dispersion in profits now is showing. India is becoming more profitable faster than even China. Right? China now, its competitive moat is giving you more at the same price. So margin deterioration, a lot of attack on its fundamental premise of economic policy and manufacturing. But even India graphs on this correctly at a time when we have our final demographic peaking. I thought 356 million millennials were too many. I'm a millennial, too many of us. This is insane. I don't know how to deal with 370 million Gen Zs. I don't know how anyone in this room is going to. But good, we have another 100 years of consumption ahead of us. No other country in the world has this at this scale. There are more Gen Zs in India than American citizens on the world. Right? So unbelievable opportunity. So very, very positive on demographics as well for the next 100 years. And finally, our consumer market. We don't talk about consumer when we talk about deep tech, but last year, for the first time in history, at least recorded economic history, India added more global consumer class citizens than China did. And India's consumer market size projected to the next 4 to 5 years is in the realm of China now, which is quite breathtaking in terms of new value added. So this is startling. This is scale. And we're not talking like a country that has reached the scale. And so when I look at every parameter we value, market size, market depth, margin profile, etc., payments were leading the world. Real-time payments were leading the world. Wallet share of UPI digital payments were leading the world. Wallet share in terms of comparison to even China, now we're getting pretty close. The two areas we lack compared to China and the US is government support for export, government support for manufacturing. We're woefully behind, but that's quickly changing. We've already done very well on software. India exports more software than Saudi exports oil. Famous truism now. If that happened in manufacturing, we are unstoppable. That's a big trend for the next 10 years. And finally, deep tech. So I come to deep tech now, which is an interesting conversation in 2025. What's happened in the last 10 years is something most people didn't think was possible in India. We climbed almost 40 positions to become 39th in the Global Innovation Index. Yes, it's a biased index. Yes, who counts, how they score, all that is true. But no country makes this kind of progress in such a short time, especially a country of this size with its complexity. And if you look at the relative comparison, only China is as big as India in terms of outperformance of innovation. So this convergence now means deep tech is an inevitable part of our economy. It has to be. We cannot progress beyond 10 trillion in GDP if we don't go beyond these four convergences. And so, if you look at IPOs in India, most of these are obvious businesses, right? Food delivery, logistics, payments, wallets, travel. I'm not smashing them. They're very good companies. You would have been a very happy investor in any one of them as a VC. They're valued well. The public market's hungry for them. The blue line there is the Indian Startup Index. It outperformed Nasdaq, S&P, BSE Midcap, Nifty 50. It outperformed most indices before Trump took over and it became a global war situation. But this outperformance now, very clearly, Indian technology startups are able to deliver, right? So no more excuses that startups can't do it and they don't make money doing it and the market doesn't work and so on. Very clearly, more investors, more FDI, everything is coming into India. And even our biggest companies are not strangers to this. More and more of them are building their own Marvel multiverse of innovation. Reliance, obviously, famously, Tata, obviously, famously. And they're all doing this because India is the last population scale territory to build huge technology companies that can serve hundreds of millions of people. There's a famous graph that VCs use, the time it took for technology to get to 50 million users globally. Airlines, 68 years, YouTube, 4 years, Facebook, 3 years, Twitter, 2 years, Pokemon Go, 19 days. Arogya Setu is a public-private app. It's free. All of us have used it. 50 million downloads in 13 days. Now, I think over 400 million users. Right? Everyone got 2 vaccination doses for free thanks to Arogya Setu. So, what we can do in India, what we can build, how we can serve this population, we need to start thinking like this is a 10 trillion economy. We need to start building IP like we're the third most powerful economy on the planet. We need to start using IP as a moat for this economy so we can defend ourselves better, so we can fight wars with more precision, so we can be scarier to the rest of the world and they'll take us more seriously. So there are 25, 30 great reasons to do deep tech, but look at how much we invest. And this becomes the first problem, right? I'll speak about problems more towards the end because we have some Q&A towards the end, but I do want to stress on the fact that we don't struggle on people, talent, innovation, ideas. We struggle on infrastructure and we struggle on who's our customer. Deep tech, one of the sectors of deep tech is defense. Right? So advanced technology for defense applications. The government of India is and should be the only customer for Indian deep tech. I don't want to sell advanced radar systems to Unilever or Wipro. I think that's a weird line to cross, right? But if the government doesn't know how to be a good customer, doesn't pay on time, doesn't purchase things at the right price, doesn't support the building of an intrinsically Indian defense economy, we won't have it, and we don't have it, and it's a hard struggle to change that attitude. And all that reflects in the market sentiment on Indian deep tech. If this has to change, we need a top-down change and a bottom-up connection. Both need to meet in the middle. And what I'm going to show you over the next few slides is we are seeing that happen. We are very optimistic. Our companies are already delivering. And if we're able to do it in our own small way as VCs, a small part of the overall ecosystem, certainly this country can, certainly an India at 10 trillion can be a lot more interesting, a lot more invested in deep tech. So I'll give you some examples of what deep tech does well in India, and then I'll end with constraints and what should change. So as a VC, we're horizontal. We do multiple sectors. We've made great companies from the early stage in all 5 of the areas we focus on. This is an interesting chart that I use. We already have 5 companies at 100 million in annual revenue, 6 at past 50 million. This is more now, dozens past 10. I can't put all the logos because some of this data is confidential. But the average age of the companies in the 100 million range, which is 800 crores, which is a lot of money, by the way. For a 100 million startup anywhere in the world in 5 to 10 years is a huge accomplishment. Most people thought this was not possible in India, for sure. And we're seeing more and more of that happen. The average age of those companies is 6 to 6.5 years, right? I've underwritten 4 of those companies. In my wildest, most optimistic dreams, didn't think this would happen with any of them. But India surprises you on the upside. India shows you that if you take the risk, if you build a good business, if you give value, if you treat customers right, if you know your way around regulation and legal and so on, you can build massive outcomes. So I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not trying to convince everyone. What I'm telling you is this is happening. We're creating value enormously in the startup ecosystem. But this is a good representation of our deep tech thesis. These are 16 areas that I can put on a slide. We have at least 25 where we think we can build great companies in India. Unfortunately, not even 3 of these areas I can list 5 large customers that can support a company going to 100 million in India itself. So the first challenge in India is, where is the demand for deep tech? Who is going to pay an enterprise contract for deep tech? And therefore, you're not surprised that our best founders have to go outside for customers. Our best founders sometimes move the company where investors tell them the customers are. So if we have to build all of this, and we have to, remember the first slides I spoke about where the world is moving, we need to have more enterprise, more government, more combined PPP participation as a customer set in the country. Of course, that doesn't stop us. We still try. Many of our companies have become the largest of their type in India. Many of them, most of them, have gone global because they had to. The customers were missing. But we've seen now companies from advanced materials and chemicals to AI and healthcare. Indian deep tech is doing its best and trying to globally compete despite those challenges. So the optimism has to be with you. These founders are risking their lives on trying to do this. Investors are risking capital trying to do this. If the entire ecosystem meets and we have that top down to bottom up convergence that I spoke about before, and I speak about more, magic can happen. I speak about a few of these companies because they're all in the report that we launched and you can see more details. But this is a company called Dozy. They built that sensor sheet. It's hardware plus AI software. That sensor sheet monitors your vitals without touching you in a hospital bed. So in real time, it measures your blood pressure, your breathing, your heart rate variability, 16 different parameters. US FDA approved, HIPAA compliant, ISO certified, live on 21,000 hospital beds. Over a dozen patents filed, already half a dozen granted, published over 20 times, published in some of the best, the best reports in the world, journals in the world. But this company is a company you've never heard of. And now their biggest demand is coming from US hospitals, where they're running out of nurses, they're running out of labor. They want more AI and smart systems to help their aging population live a better life. Right? We have 300 million elderly in India. Don't they deserve the best care? This is still not fully insurance covered in the country. Why aren't insurance regulators changing their mind about helping our citizens live a better life with more dignity, with the best technology serving them? So things have to change. We're able to build solutions. We're able to build globally competitive, best-in-class IP. This is the first of its type that's got a US FDA approval or an FDA approval level anywhere in the world. But this biggest market is not going to be India. And that's a fundamental problem. Next, I want to talk about something in EVs. Now, EVs are a big theme in India. Commercial EVs are going to be a huge opportunity. Exponent is a deep tech company that made existing battery packs be able to charge in 15 minutes. So an entire bus battery, which is comfortably a large part of this stage. I'll just show you the photo. That bus can charge in 15 minutes. It doesn't need a different battery chemistry, doesn't need special cells. It uses the same lithium ion configuration that your Android or iPhone has. But to charge an entire bus in 15 minutes and not break it, not make it explode, all the controls and algorithms you need is a non-trivial deep tech issue. They've partnered with the biggest OEMs in India. Again, dozens of patents filed, dozens of patents granted. But again, you haven't heard about this company. And now increasingly, even though India has a very large automobile OEM industry, its largest clients are not going to be Indian. They're going to be more and more global. Only one Chinese company has done a megawatt charging technology at this speed. They're not at 15 minutes, they're at 30. But that doesn't stop Indian customers from being a little skeptical, right? So this founder will do what he has to. I'm sure he'll build a great business. These people don't give up. But again, I come down to the basic fact that if there is a better environment for deep tech businesses from a customer perspective, from a grants perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, these companies can do magic. I'll talk about a last company, again, another Bangalore company. Agnet has the country's first gallium nitride fab right here in ISC. Now, the good thing about Agnet, and it's a positive story, is this is maybe the most advanced company in terms of research. All its founders are ISC PhD professors or students, 100 plus research publications. One of the best academic origination teams you'll see in the Indian startup ecosystem. Even though its largest customer set is supposed to be India, and thankfully it is, the first 5 million of revenues coming only from India. This is a company that hopefully shows us government, industry, everyone working together to change the nature of Indian deep tech fundamentally. The fab required $80 million to be built. The government built the whole thing on its own. This company was encouraged to leave ISC and given IP control and so on, the way a US university would. So absolutely world-class governance on IP. And they became interesting enough for VCs like us to say, we're going to make a lot of money with this investment. If it works, let's make it happen. Right? So Agnet possibly starts, and there are many companies like Agnet across the country. But now what you're seeing is the early signs of Indian startups, the Indian system, government, academia, all coming together saying, this change has to happen, let's do it. And we'll be the first to. And if every state, every IIT, every ISC, every NIT, every university takes on this challenge of spinning out its best performers, I think we can do magic. And so Agnet for us is a very important story. It's hopefully the start of a trend next 10 years. Of course, we've had lot of success. You lose a deep tech company, full stack design on EVs. Fasal does great AI for agriculture and IoT. Unbox is building some of the most sophisticated robots in the world, fully autonomous, live in Europe, 20 million in revenue. ToneTag is building fully autonomous sound pods, merchant acceptance devices that take payments from different types of device, from different payment modalities. Firmbox is a biotech company building the world's India's largest biomanufacturing plant for novel enzymes. Enzymes go into everything from paint and perfumes to the ethanol that is 10% blended into all petrol and diesel in the country. We import all of our enzymes today. If we're able to build companies that do that locally in India, a massive, massive benefit for the entire economy. Bugworks is doing high end drug discovery. E-plane is building a fully eVTOL autonomous 200 kg passenger load carrying aerial device. Aero is building smaller drones. Simplify is building advanced chemicals manufacturing. And another complaint I wanted to close before I go into the concluding part of this talk is another complaint about deep tech companies is they don't scale fast enough. They take too long. It takes too long to commercialize. Do investors make money? Investors haven't. The last 15 years, most deep tech startup investments have failed. But what we're seeing now with these companies, this new batch, and I'll use Simplify as an example. In 11 months after our investment, they are at 26 million in annual revenue. They have customers in 10 countries. They have 150 factories working with them, 150 plus enterprise customers across the world. And they're manufacturing over 100 different molecules, many of which they've done the first IPO. For a deep tech manufacturing company to go up 26 million in 11 months is unheard of, right? But now the quality of the talent of the founding team, the quality of talent they've hired, the presence of talent in this country in chemicals, right? And the fact that they have customers in 10 countries exactly when China is losing customers every year and that China plus one is very real, for all those things to converge and a company to take advantage of that in India and deliver this outcome is strange, it's new, not seen before. So you will see new strengths, new ways of growth that deep tech companies will find, and I believe the strongest signals of that is going to come from the early stage, from venture capital, from the interface between academia, government, and private capital. So I'll close this by saying we've learned a lot of things about investments, about VC, about deep tech, about India, of course, as a market over the last decade. I'll close by making two important statements. We think deep tech development is not a competition with the finish line. It is an infinite game where the only objective is to endure by innovating and harnessing new resilience. The government of India now must act as the grant giver and the anchor client, ensuring domestic deep tech companies have the space and security to innovate. What do I mean by that? One program by the US couple of years back, the CHIPS Act, was $300 billion. They gave Intel $7.5 billion to help them build a fab, their first fab in a long time, in the US because all of it is exported to China and Taiwan. To give you a perspective, 7.5 billion isn't even, it's around 4x the entire national deep tech budget announced in the Indian budget 3 years back. One country gave one company from its geo 3x or 4x of money the entire budget of India announced for deep tech support in the country. I'll give you another example. There's a defense tech startup called Anduril, Anduril. It started in 2017 or 2018. Second-time founder, he's very famous. You should look up Anduril on YouTube. Anduril just won a $22 billion contract with the US Army. 22 billion is more than the market cap of Havells, is 30% the market cap of Infosys. 22 billion is not the annual revenue of the entire deep tech or defense sector in India. Just to give you perspective, that's a startup. They have no right to win a $22 billion contract anywhere in the world in any industry. But look up this startup's products. They're making autonomous drones. They're making precision missiles. They're making very strange things on radar. The rate at which a government, and the leading superpower of the world is the US in terms of defense capabilities, they spend $100 to $200 billion a year promoting innovation, taking risk, being the best customer those companies can ask for. If you look at India all the way down, EU is 50 billion, Japan is 30 billion, South Korea is 20 billion. India's announcement is not government giving money or government giving grants or government giving support. India's announcement is FDI is coming to India. Thank you, FDI will take care of it. FDI is not going to take care of it. FDI doesn't build a stronger country. FDI makes money, makes IRR, invests, leaves. Right? FDI is only for the returns. So we need a fundamental rethinking of who's supposed to play what role for this to be an indigenous, intrinsically important, inevitable capability in India. So I make 4 points to conclude. To be globally competitive as Indians in deep tech, we need to radically see the government expand its risk-taking. The government doesn't trust us today. To give us the money, give our universities the money, give students the money, give researchers, scientists, entrepreneurs the money, and say, go take risks, go innovate, most of it will fail. That's what the US did, hundreds of billions of dollars a year for 70 years from the nuclear program. All of you have seen Oppenheimer. No cost is spared, go build a bomb. Right? We've never had that kind of mission in India. And if we do, it's usually to a PSU. And yeah, they will perfect failure over 30 years. These are not bad people, these are not incompetent people, these are some of the best and brightest. But the system is flawed. The capability of the government to not trust its own citizens to take that risk is the attitude problem we have to change. There are 24 plus grant-giving institutions in the US, 100 billion of public, not private. There's multiples of that in private, obviously, because the companies are now worth as much as countries. But hundreds of billions of dollars of public R&D every year means India has to step up. Government has to step up. There is no shortcut here. There is no jugaad. Take that out of your mind. It is hard money going and taking risks and hopefully building outcomes. Second, the government needs to be a better customer. Every deep tech startup in defense is failing because the government is the only customer and they're not a very good one. The money doesn't come on time. The contracts aren't renewed. The officer changes and then the third installment doesn't come and they're stranded. It's miserable. And if the government is not a customer, a better customer, who else will be? Most of these companies don't have another customer. Who will they build for? The Singapore government, the Japanese government, why are they building for them? So we need a fundamental rethink there. And we need to make market making statecraft. We need to make a government department that says we will perfect the government's ability to be the best customer for Indian deep tech, Indian defense tech, Indian innovation. We need a multi-decade, infinite game approach. So we need to replicate the success of Aadhaar, of UPI, of PLI, and build a dozen national deep tech missions. We have semiconductors, we have, quantum computing, we have AI now, very good. But the national AI mission was announced 4 years after ChatGPT. The national AI mission has picked only 3 companies, and 2 of them are US funded. One hasn't raised funding yet. I don't know how you build competition to ChatGPT with no funding. So we're not going to, this is not magic. We can do magic, yes, but this is investment, this is capex. We need to invest, and the government, again, has to think this way for this to work, for sure. And finally, Indian academia has to be unleashed. Too many controls, too many restrictions. The best people are not allowed to go out with their IP and commercialize. Now it's happening on the fringes. IMB, IISc, IITs, they're all leading that thinking. But we need to start that national challenge, DARPA, grants system in India. We need to let private citizens run those programs, not the administration, not bureaucrats. And that has to change, and I hope that's changing. I'm hearing it's changing. Let's see. And incentives for private players to invest. Finally, private players have to defend their balance sheets. Yes, nation building, every Indian citizen wants to help and wants to do that for sure, but they can't change company policy to do that. So we need incentives. And if we do all 4, and it's not much to be honest, I remind you we spend 9 lakh crores in subsidies every year as a country. We are the most profitable country in terms of emerging markets, private capital, private industry profitability. The capital exists, our capacity to pay exists, if the money doesn't flow. And that's a fundamental problem. But if it does, we believe it's very hard to stop this country. We think VC will anyway try its best, academia will try its best, all of us will hobble around and do something. But if we come together, we think just like we incentivize startups to solve problems for India, if we focus on deep tech startups, we think that force multiplication will definitely accelerate our transition to 10 trillion and beyond. With that, I'm happy to close my speech. Once again, thank you very much.